Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. There are a few people that are still trickling in here and there, but my name is Katie Talbert. I will be hosting the Zoom today. We will be covering all things membership. And then we're going to sprinkle in member enrollment. So once you have these new members, we're going to show you how to enroll them. And also I'm going to quickly cover if you get an enrollment error in your contribution report, how you could go ahead and tackle that yourself in ESERS. I never want to discourage you from calling us because we really do enjoy when you do call us. That's why we're here. We're here to help. We never want you spinning your wheels for more than 15, 20 minutes when you can simply call us and we can work through the issue with you. So after member enrollment, I'm going to show you how to use the employer reporting detail lookup application in ESERS. It's not only good for searching for enrollments, but also how to search for your file. With that, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. And also, I want to give you fair warning. Please bear with me. We're going to do some of this in PowerPoint, and then I'm going to flip to the employer site to show you some forms. Unfortunately, since we're doing it virtually, my PowerPoint slides made all of the forms that I want to show you really blurry. So I just figured if we just bounce back and forth, hopefully you don't get too car sick. But I just want to give you a little forewarning. So I might be flipping back and forth. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen. Like I explained earlier, we're going to cover all things membership, member enrollment, and the employer reporting detail lookup application in ESERS. We're going to cover who is a member, who falls under the membership of SERS. We're going to give you a membership breakdown, all of the contracted services. Is it a SERS member? Is it a STRS member? How to cover member enrollment, and the employer reporting detail lookup screen. So in a nutshell, SERS member is anyone who works in a public school in a non-teaching position. So our statute covers paragraphs B1, B2, and B3, which I'm going to go into detail in a moment. But this section 3309.01 of the Ohio Revised Code describes three separate definitions of employee, which is B1, B2, and B3 for SERS covered members. So paragraph B1 covers basically the common law employee. So any person employed by a public employer in a non-teaching position that does not require a license under Ohio Revised Code 3319.22 to 3319.31. So basically it refers to an employee and an employer relationship. So this covers your traditional employees that you hire directly, that there is an established relationship between you as the employer and the employee that you have hired. This also includes individuals that you contract directly with. So this is your common law employee. So these are your most basic employees that you're hiring. If they fall within SERS membership, they are a SERS member. So that's your B1 common law employee. So your paragraph B2, which is your statutory employee, and these employees perform services that are common to the normal daily operation of a school, even though the person is employed and paid by one who has contracted with the employer to perform the service. So this is also including your contractors. This is kind of enveloping those employees that have been hired through a contract company, and they are coming into the school and they are providing a service that is common to your normal daily operation. And we will go into those types of positions here in a moment. But this was included in our revised code to encompass those contract employees, because just because they're contract employees doesn't exclude them from SERS membership. They're providing a service common to the normal daily operation. And paragraph B3 is your post-secondary school employees. So those are employed in a non-faculty position within the school, college, or other institution. And they're wholly controlled and managed wholly or partly supported by the state or political subdivision. So this typically falls within our colleges and universities, those employees that are not labeled faculty. So I'm not by looking at the names of the individuals that are in this Zoom today, I don't think that this pertains to you, but this is what our B3 portion of our revised code is referring to. Sometimes in our communications, you will see us refer to B1, B2, and B3. That's when we like to break down our revised code in easier terms to understand and to read. Sometimes reading our revised code, unless you are familiar with legal jargon, it can be very overwhelming. So we have tried to break it down into just very understandable terms for anyone to read and understand. These are the types of employees that fall within our revised code. So a quick membership breakdown, the thing that you may be asking yourself, what is common to the normal daily operation? Because we do refer to it, and it's any service required to be provided by the educational unit by law, statute, or rule. So for example, the school is required to provide transportation, school lunches, nursing services. These types of positions are required in order for the school to run smoothly. So when you think of common to the normal daily operation, that's what we are referring to. Also, any service necessary on a regular continuous basis to the efficient operation of an educational unit. So for example, these would include your IT services, grounds maintenance and cleaning services. So common to the normal daily operation, you need custodial services, you need ground maintenance, you need IT services for things to run smoothly. Through custom and usage, it has become a service commonly provided or procured by an educational unit on a regular continuous basis. So the most common example that we like to give is security services. And I also like to explain to my employers, because of this, through custom and usage, this is very important. So maybe 5 or 6 years ago, you received a membership determination from us from a service that you received maybe once or twice a year. We found that it wasn't common to the normal daily operation. You only pay these service providers once or twice a year. We gave you a determination saying this isn't common to the normal daily operation. This is not a CERS covered employee. We in employer services, we don't know what we don't know. So what I'm trying to say is, as the employer, if you have found that you are paying this service more than once or twice a year, that it has been more customary for your school to procure this service, and that it is kind of brinking on the edge of common to the normal daily operation for your district, that's when I would like to reach out to you and say, it's probably time for you to go ahead and get a new membership determination from us. Things change over the years. Services are needed more often than what they were 5 or 6 years ago. So it is the responsibility of the school district to stay on top of something like that. And if you notice that you are paying this service provider more than once or twice a year, you're maybe paying them on a monthly basis, semi-monthly basis, whatever that would be, the responsibility falls on the employer to make sure that you still fall within us saying this isn't common to the normal daily operation, or you get a new membership determination from us saying, upon further review, we have found that this to be common to the normal daily operation, and this service falls within CERS membership, and these employees providing the service now need to report to CERS. So this membership breakdown through custom and usage has become a service commonly provided or procured by an educational unit on a regular continuous basis is something important for the employers to keep in mind also. So just because we have determined in the past that it wasn't common to the normal daily operation, that doesn't mean now that we wouldn't still have the same determination. So long story short, please stay on top of stuff like that. If you do find that you're paying them more frequently, it's probably time to get a new membership determination on that. And I'll cover membership determinations here in a moment. So a membership breakdown. These are services that we don't find common to the normal daily operation. This list includes service to vending machines, to equipment under equipment warranty or purchase lease service agreement, service or repair to equipment or facilities of the employer on an emergency basis, providing trash pickup and disposal, providing student transportation in vehicles that are not identified by law or marked as school buses, and advising or consulting on a temporary basis. This last bullet point right here, this advising or consulting on a temporary basis, always make sure you get a membership determination on that, because just because you are hiring what you consider to be a consultant, we might consider that to be common to the normal daily operation. So this last bullet point, I would strongly encourage you to get a determination. It's better that you get a determination from us as opposed to you making the determination yourself and it being incorrect. So anyone providing services that are listed here are not CSRS members. So, but like I said, any of the advising or consulting, I would just make sure that you receive a determination from CSRS or from employer services on that one. Okay. So contracted services. So, people employed by a contractor to perform a service common to the normal daily operation must enroll in CSRS. So there's no exemption from the requirement to enroll. So let's say you are using First Student. They are the pretty popular contractor for transportation services. Let's say First Student is sending a different bus driver every single day. You would need a member enrollment for each new bus driver that comes every single day, and you would need to send in contributions for that and for those individuals. Even if the work is part-time, let's say they work 1 or 2 hours, that's okay. It still needs to be service that is reported on. So we need enrollments regardless if it's a different person every day, and contribution reports need to be sent in on those individuals that are providing that service. Also, claiming that employees are independent contractors does not avoid membership in CSRS. So just because you've called them an independent contractor doesn't negate the fact that they may need to be reporting to CSRS. So in this instance, we would ask for you to submit a membership determination to us, and we would from there review all of the documentation that you provide, and we would let you know if we consider them to be an independent contractor or if they need to begin reporting to CSRS. So we, back in 2014, we got with the legal staff and the employer education staff at STRS, and we went through our revised code. And because there was some gray areas on some positions where it wasn't really set in stone if they should be CSRS or STRS. So in those meetings, we had made definitive lines between certain positions. But listed here are positions that are always CSRS members. So you have your teachers, aides, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, food service, custodial or maintenance personnel, technology coordinators, treasurers, business managers, secretarial or clerical personnel. Those are always CSRS members. And on this next slide, regular preschool teachers, including head teachers and aides, special education preschool teachers, including aides, but not head teachers, latchkey employees, early childhood instructors, ticket takers, security officers, and auxiliary service personnel in positions that do not require licensure under Ohio law. These positions are always CSRS members also. Any questions so far? I'm assuming if you had any, you'd ask. Okay, these are always STRS members, full-time and part-time teachers, preschool directors, special education preschool head teachers, adult education instructors, substitute teachers, tutors, and County Board of Developmental Disability teachers, superintendents, psychologists, guidance counselors, auxiliary service personnel, and positions that require licensure under Ohio law. There is a handout in our employer site. So when I say employer site, what you would do is you would go to School Employees Retirement System, our website. So that's the ohscrs.org. And there are several ways that you can navigate to the employer page. You can go from the employer drop down. It opens this white screen and menu, and you can go to forms and publications, or from the ohscrs.org homepage, you can scroll down and you can click on the employer link here, and you can scroll down to forms and publications. So the handout that I want to show is, you would go to handouts and click on joint membership common positions for SERS and STRS, which I have open, but I can't get to it. So this handout is nice because it gives a breakdown of everything that I just covered with B1, B2, and B3. And it gives quick definitions, and it's a quick reference guide when it comes down to our revised code, and it puts it in simpler terms, because I wouldn't want you to Google it and read it from the Ohio law book. But then the common positions of interest that I just covered are listed here. Here's the STRS column, and here's the SERS column. And these are questions to ask yourself, especially when it comes to preschool teachers. When you have a preschool teacher question, feel free to give us a call. But if you want to pull out your handout, this is the question you're asking yourself. For the preschool teacher and director, is it a special education preschool program? If so, the director is a STRS member. The head teacher is a STRS. The secondary classroom teachers or aides, that's a SERS member. Then the second question you need to ask yourself, is it a regular or typical preschool program? And here it would answer those questions for you. As of right now, this is what the membership is for preschool teachers. So if you ever have any questions in regards to who should report, you can pull out this handout, or you can give us a call. When it does come to membership determinations, we will ask for everything in writing. We may talk to you over the phone, but we won't provide a membership determination over the phone. Okay, so if when it comes to STRS or SERS and you have a question of membership, things to ask yourself. For coaches, does the individual hold a valid teaching license? So for coaches, they are a little different. So if your coach has a valid teaching license, whether if they are teaching in your school or not, as long as they have a valid teaching license, they will report to STRS. The idea behind that is that they just wanted to keep it within the schools. So if they have a valid teaching license, they are a STRS member, whether they could be teaching in the neighboring district, or they could be a retired teacher. As long as their teaching license is valid, regardless if they're using it or where they're using it, they would be a STRS member. If they do not have a teaching license, or they don't have a valid teaching license, then that's when they would report to SERS. For your nurses, does the individual hold an Ohio Department of Education school nurse license, or is the individual a registered nurse with a bachelor's degree? So the bachelor's degree doesn't have to be in nursing, but as long as they have a bachelor's degree, then they would, and they are an RN, then they would report to STRS. For speech language pathologists and audiologists, did your school receive an exemption from the ODE under section 3319.224 of the revised code? Sometimes I get the question of how do I know? And I always answer, if your school district received an exemption, you would know, because there's lots of paperwork involved. But so these are questions to ask yourself when it comes to common positions of interest for your coaches, your nurses, and your speech and language pathologists and audiologists. These are the questions you need to ask yourself, and the answers that you have will tell you if they are a SERS or STRS member. And like I said, the handout that I showed you between joint positions of interest between SERS and STRS, that handout is very helpful when it comes to understanding our revised code and who reports where. So for membership determinations, when you have a question whether or not someone should be reporting to SERS or STRS, we will ask for you to request a membership determination. We will ask for a copy of the job description and or the contract, and if needed, a membership determination form, which is out on the employer site. What will happen is employer services will review all of the documentation that you sent to us. And if there are any questions, we'll ask you to submit additional paperwork. But from there, what will happen is employer services will provide the initial membership determination. From there, if the school district doesn't agree with the determination that we have provided, and that's okay, we will simply ask for more documentation to back up what you believe to be the correct membership determination. And from there, what we will do, employer services will send it to legal. If we haven't already gotten legal involved, we will get them involved at that point in time. Legal will review all of the information that has been provided to them. They may ask for additional paperwork. But from there, what will happen is the final staff determination will be issued to the employer. And then from there, if the employer still doesn't agree, which is totally fine, what will happen is the determination will go before the board. The board will review all of the information provided. The school district will attend, and what will happen is the board will make the final determination. They will review all the paperwork and they will issue what they believe to be membership at that point. And once the board has made their decision, that it's final and it's irrevocable at that moment in time. So that is the membership determination process. Most membership determinations don't go before the board, but sometimes they do, and that's okay. We just want to make sure that membership is being reported in the proper pension system. At the end of the day, it's about the member. And we just want to make sure that their contributions are being sent to the correct system. So if it is determined that the employee is a SERS member and services have already been provided, you have 30 days to certify that service. If it's within the fiscal year, we will just ask for you to report all unreported time. But if it's in a previous fiscal year, we will ask that you will complete the certification of salary for non-contributing service. Once that form has been sent to us, we will send it to the service credit purchase department. They will calculate a cost and they will issue the letter to the district. And the district will have 30 days to provide that payment for unreported time. And then any failure to certify the earnings will result in a charge based on our estimated figures. So, but this is only if, this will only happen if there has already been services provided and they haven't been reported on. So we do have membership that can be exempt. So employees may choose exemption if they are students who are not members at the time of employment and are employed by the school, college, or university in which the student is enrolled and regularly attending classes. If they are an emergency employee serving on a temporary basis, or the individuals who are employed in a program established under any federal job training program. So if you have, and the most popular exemption is the student exemption. And what we will do is I will show you the exemption form. So you would go to the employer site at ohscrs.org, and you would go to employer forms. This is where you would find your membership determination form. So if you have a contractor, I'll show you. If you have a contractor or what you believe to be an independent contractor, you would fill out this form. It's going to take a minute to load. But the very first page defines our revised code. And then it gives you our determination process. But then section 1 should only be completed when you are working with an independent contractor. And then section 2, if you scroll down, if you are working with a contract company. So you will either fill out section 1 or section 2 when it comes to an independent contractor or a contract company. But we came here to look at the exemption form. So if you go to employer forms, the membership exemption form, I'm showing you this form because it's really important for the employer to hold on to. There's no statute of limitations when it comes to this form. You will hold on to it indefinitely, because what happens is this request for exemption form, and like I said, it's mainly used for student employees who aren't CSRS members at the time. They are employed by the school, college, or university in which they are enrolled and regularly attending classes. So what happens is when you hire a student and you ask them if they want to be a CSRS member or if they want to contribute to Social Security, if they choose to not be a CSRS member, that's when you would have them complete this form. This is them acknowledging the fact that they are making the decision not to be a CSRS member. Contributions will not be sent into CSRS, and this form is to be held onto by the school district. We have nowhere to store this form, so we don't hold on to these forms. We hold on to forms if we have a member and we image them to the member account. This form is for someone not wanting CSRS membership because they fall within these categories. So we don't have anywhere to store these forms. So it's up to the district to hold on to this form indefinitely. And the reason being, let's say 30 years from now, a student who was a student worker is going to go retire. They are sitting down with their counselor and there are 2 years missing. And people scramble for time when it comes time to retirement. If they are short, they will look for it. And let's say the student worker was like, well, wait a second, I worked my junior and senior year in the school office, and I remember receiving paychecks. Wasn't I a CSRS member then? And what will happen is we will come back to the school district and ask to see if you have the exemption from membership form. This form is to basically cover the school district in saying, you elected not to have CSRS membership. This is why you don't have those 2 years of service credit. The student can come back and buy the time if they want. It's just very expensive. So, but this is the form that you would have them fill out. A student or your emergency employee, you would have this form filled out by them, and then you would hold on to it. Okay, so those are your exempt employees. Oh, and like I said, they would fill out their request for exemption form. The district will hold on to this indefinitely. The exemption is irrevocable, so they can't change their mind. Once they have filled this form out, they have decided not to be a CSRS member, they will contribute to Social Security at that point in time. But I will say, if they continue working for the school district and they graduate and they continue working after they graduate for the school district, that is the time that they become a CSRS member, because they are no longer a student regularly attending classes. So let's say they graduate from high school and they continue working for the school. That's when you would start sending in contributions for them. optional membership. So this is in reference to your school board members or governing board members. They have the option to contribute to SERS. So membership in SERS or Social Security must be chosen within the first 30 days of taking office. If the board member chooses membership in SERS, a new school or governing board member election for membership to SERS form will need to be completed and submitted to SERS right here. So what would happen is your school board member, if they opt for SERS membership, they would fill this form out and you would send it back to Employer Services. You wouldn't upload it through eSERS, you would send this to us, and you still have to complete a member enrollment. Excuse me. Once they choose SERS membership, it's irrevocable. The same with if they choose Social Security, they can't change their mind in 60 days and say, I now want to be a SERS member. When they choose where they want to contribute, that's where their contributions will go. And that decision is irrevocable. There has to be a break in term in order for them to change to SERS or to Social Security if they want to change their mind. So there has to be a break in service in order for them to change their mind on SERS membership or not. So when you have a new school board member and they choose to elect SERS, you would have them fill out this form and then you would send it to us. A member enrollment is still needed at that point in time. Back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So like I said, once the membership is chosen, it's irrevocable, but this does not pertain to governing authorities of community schools. They cannot belong to SERS. So at that, if you are a school board member or governing authority for a community school, you would report to Social Security. Exclusion from membership include individuals who participate in an alternative retirement plan established by a college or university, or University of Akron police officers who are covered by OPERS. Also, individuals who have a license and are employed in an educational position through programs used under federal law and financed by federal funds for which no license may be required. Non-teaching University of Akron employees that fall within this time frame that were employed after September 28th, 2016, or who were employed by the university as of September 28th, 2016, who subsequently terminated their employment and are reemployed by the university at least 12 months after termination. I don't think that pertains to anybody in our meeting today. Community school operators, as a general rule, individuals employed after July 1st, 2016 by a community school operator who were withholding and paying Social Security taxes for employees on or before February 1st, 2016 are also excluded from membership. Okay. So we are going to move on to reemployment. A retiree of SERS or another Ohio system may be employed by a school in a position in which SERS contributions are required without limitation on the number of days or earnings. They are required to contribute to SERS if employed in a SERS covered position. So let's say you have a retired teacher who is coming back as a reemployed retiree as a custodian, just because they have they had a teaching license or that they were a teacher before they retired. Now they are in a true SERS covered position. So in retirement, if they choose to be in a SERS position, they would report to SERS. A retiree should consider waiting 2 months so that they do not have to forfeit payment for each month worked during that waiting period. For some of our retirees, it's just more beneficial to them to forfeit the first 2 months of their pension payments, and no, they won't receive those forfeited pension payments later. If they decide to come back to work within those 60 days, they will lose those pension payments. If you do hire a reemployed retiree, You have to re-enroll them like you would any other employee. What happens is when a regular member retires, we put an end date on that account and that account is closed. If they were to come back as a re-employed retiree, a new account is open for them and a new begin date starts for them. And what happens for re-employed retirees, their contributions go into an annuity account, so it's separate from the pension account. And in this first bullet, we were basically saying they aren't acquiring service credit at this point in time as a re-employed retiree. They've already earned all of the service credit needed in order to retire. We still collect that information because it is a required field in our system. However, we aren't collecting days and hours for retirement purposes for a re-employed retiree. Individuals who retire and then take a new job or go back to work for a public or private employer may temporarily lose their eligibility for CSRS healthcare coverage while they are reemployed. Once reemployment ends, their eligibility for healthcare will be reinstated. Before I get into healthcare really quick, something that I wanted to touch on that's not on the slide, for your retirees, if you have an employee that has 2 positions in the schools, they are able to retire from their higher paying position and they can continue working in their lower paid position without forfeiting their first 2 months of pension payments. That would be notated in our system, but it's only for those individuals that have established 2 positions for the school district before retirement. I apologize for that not being on the slide, but they are eligible to retire from their higher paying position and continue working in their lower paying position at retirement. Okay, so we're getting into reemployed retirees and healthcare. So once reemployment ends, eligibility for healthcare will be reinstated. This affects individuals who began employment on or after January 1st, 2016 and are under age 65 and not yet eligible for Medicare, or they're eligible but not enrolled in Medicare Part B. The individuals that are not affected by this are already enrolled in Medicare Part B. CSRS healthcare eligibility is lost when an individual, for reemployed retirees, CSRS healthcare eligibility is lost when an individual is eligible for medical or prescription coverage through his or her new employer, or is not eligible for medical and prescription coverage through his or her new employer, but other employees in comparable positions are eligible for coverage. The coverage available to employees in comparable positions must be at the same cost as full-time employees. Individuals will not lose eligibility for CSRS coverage if they do not have access to the employer coverage or it costs employees in comparable positions more than what full-time employees pay. This also applies to spouses, but not children. So employing disability benefit recipients. A CSRS disability benefit recipient cannot be employed by a CSRS covered employer. If a recipient is employed, the benefit ends. So schools that hire a disability benefit recipient must file notice of the employment, including the date of employment with CSRS. So I can only speak to CSRS policies, but if you are hiring a CSRS member who is receiving a disability benefit, their benefit will end. Sometimes we get phone calls for a school district that is hiring a new member that would fall within CSRS, but they're receiving a disability benefit from another pension system. And our advice to the school districts at that point is to contact that pension system to find out what their policies and procedures are when it comes to hiring one of their disability benefit recipients. But for us, if you hire a CSRS disability benefit recipient, their disability benefit will end. A disability benefit recipient of another Ohio retirement system should contact the other system. A member is not eligible for a CSRS disability benefit if the person is receiving a disability benefit from another Ohio retirement system. So if someone is already on an OPERS disability benefit, they have time here at SERS, where what have you, they are not eligible for a SERS disability benefit if they're already receiving one from another pension system. Alternative retirement plans, or what we call ARPs. An ARP is an option, is only an option for employees of colleges and universities. Employers are responsible for notifying SERS of an employee who is eligible for an ARP within 10 days of the employee's first date of service. You would fill out a form called a Notice of Employment or Reclassification of Employee Eligible for Alternative Retirement Plan. This form is located on the employer page. And then from there, after this form is submitted, eligible employees have 120 days from their first date of full-time employment to enroll in the ARP. An employee who chooses the ARP must sign the retirement plan election form and return it to the employer, who is required to file it with SERS within 10 days. Once this is submitted, it's irrevocable. Multiple system coverage. An employee who has more than one job may contribute to more than one Ohio retirement system. So sometimes we have school teachers who teach during the day and they help with custodial services in the evening. So those are two traditional STRS member and SERS members, so that you would send contributions to two separate retirement systems. For each covered job, the appropriate contributions should be sent to the proper retirement system. So if you ever have any questions on submitting contributions to two separate systems, feel free to give us a phone call. We will help you walk through this because it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, we're here to help. Okay, so once you have gone through all of the membership information, you would enroll your new employee. Employees and reemployed retirees can only be enrolled through eSERS. We don't accept paper forms. We haven't accepted them for a while. Everything is done electronically through the upload enrollment file application in eSERS or the manual enrollment application in eSERS. You will not be able to submit any contribution reporting for any new employee where we don't have a enrollment submitted through SERS. So your very first step is to enroll the employee, and then from there you will you can send contribution reporting. The SSA can also be uploaded into eSERS, and I'll show you where you can do that. The SSA upload is for the 1945 forms only. So sometimes we get the board member election form or student exemption forms through that upload, because it's basically you scan in your PDFs and then you upload it through that application. We will only accept the SSA 1945 forms through the SSA 1945 upload in eSERS. So now what I will do, I will open eSERS. I will share my screen. I will log in. See, I have to answer all of the security questions too, just like all of our employers. I find it just as frustrating. Okay, so once you've logged into eSERS, you can manually enroll your employees. So what you would do is you go to manual enrollment entry, and then you would click new. From here, you will enter in your employment, your enrollment information. And all of this information is fake information. Oh goodness. Good. Everyone is watching me. I don't know how to spell. Okay, so at this time in the enrollment form, the phone and email are not required fields, but we ask all of our employers that if you do have access to this information to please provide it. One day in the future, this may be a required field. So because I do know that we would like eventually to move most of our communications to be more electronic. I also know that there could be like for new member accounts, two-factor authentication aspect. So if we have phone numbers and emails, that would make the process smoother for employers or member services. So if you do have access to that information, if you could provide it, that would be great. But currently it's not a required field. I'm not saying that it won't ever not be a required field, because I do have a feeling down the road it might be. But currently, we just ask if you have it to provide it. Then you want to put in your first date of service, and then the job classification. We have been asked to expand this list for job classifications. So we're going to sit down. We can't do an all-encompassing list because then this list would take up the entire screen. But we do plan on expanding this list to include more positions for SERS covered membership. So for this member enrollment, we're just going to do it administrative. If you are a college and university and your employee has qualified for an ARP, you would choose from this drop down. If you are doing a member enrollment for a contractor, then you would enter in there. You can hit the search bar and you can search for contractor names here of contractors that you've already entered into ESERS. But so now that I've filled out my member enrollment, what you want to do is you want to hit save. The key thing here is to remember that when you hit save, that's not submitting your enrollment. Oh, I forgot she's already enrolled. So we will change it to running out of Disney characters. So once you have entered in, when you do run into this, member last name does not match system records, you can give us a phone call. Let's say your new employee has worked for us in a SERS covered position before and they were single and now they're married and you need their last name to change. You can give us a phone call and we can update it in the system, or vice versa. If they got divorced and they went back to their maiden name, we can go ahead and change that in the system without any issues. Member date of birth. If you receive this warning, please double check to make sure that what you have on the driver's license or I-9 is what you have put into the system. I strongly suggest you not suppressing this warning without figuring out if the date of birth you have is accurate or not. But whenever you have a warning, you can always suppress it. But since I've changed the last name, I'm going to save it. Why is it? I don't understand. Maybe it's a worked earlier. Oh, goodness. There. Okay. So I have hit save. And once you hit save, you're still not done. You have to submit your enrollment record for posting. So the enrollments go through the same validation process as a contribution report. So once you have saved it, you don't have any errors or warnings, you want to go ahead and hit submit for posting. So if you have multiple enrollments, you would just hit the refresh button, and then you have to go back out to manual enrollment entry to enter in the next enrollment that you have. Or if you can upload your enrollment files here, you would choose your file. You would choose your file, hit the wrong button. You would choose from here or wherever you have it saved, and you would upload your file. Let's say you have enrolled your employee and you are getting an error on your contribution report saying enrollment is required for member, but you just entered in Bugs Bunny and you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a second, I don't understand why ESERS isn't recognizing the enrollment I have. So my suggestion to you is to take the Social Security number and go to the employer reporting detail lookup screen. When you go to the employer reporting detail lookup screen, you want to copy in the Social Security number or paste your Social Security number that you've copied and hit search. So when, excuse me. So when you enter in your Social Security number, your search results panel will show you everything that we have on file for this employee. And if you notice, we only have contribution records. So one is voided and one is in review, but we don't see an enrollment. So my next suggestion to you would be to delete the social, because it's possible that the Social Security number on the contribution report is wrong. So you want to look up, you want to look by name and then hit search. And when you hit search, your results field will show an enrollment and the contribution. So at this point, you would want to look at the Social Security numbers and compare them to what you have. So it looks like the enrollment here has a different Social Security number than the contribution report. At this point in time, that's when you would go back and look at the Social Security number or the Social Security card and verify which is correct, the contribution report or the enrollment. If the contribution report is wrong, all you would simply do is you would click on the detail record ID and you would change the Social Security number. If the enrollment is wrong, if you entered in the wrong Social Security number in the enrollment, you have to enter in a new enrollment, and then you have to submit a copy of the Social Security card or I-9 to Employer Services so that we can correct our system internally with the bad enrollment that has been entered. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and enter the new enrollment because we have to correct our file. So in this scenario, we're going to say that the enrollment is wrong and the contribution report is correct. So in this scenario, you would create a new enrollment. So from here, you want to go to manual enrollment entry, click new, enter the Social Security, the correct Social Security number. Again, if you have the telephone number or email, please enter it in at this point in time. That's weird. I'm sorry. So once you've entered in all the information, you want to hit save. What I'm going to do is I'm going to suppress this warning. So to suppress the warning above the gender, you check mark the box, suppress warning, and hit save. So it's now valid, and I'm going to hit submit for posting. Once this is done, so remember the original enrollment was incorrect. We just submitted a new enrollment. So what you would do from here is you would fax us a copy of the Social Security card or I-9 so that we can go in and internally remove the incorrect enrollment. we can't do that without a paper trail. So that's why we need a copy of the Social Security card or a copy of the I-9. Once you send that to us, you still have to submit your file. So if you go back to contribution file correction, because remember we had an enrollment error, you would click on the header ID for your file and review. What we have to do is we have to make Bugs Bunny valid in order for my file to be valid for me to submit my file for posting. So you want to open up the contribution record. You want to hit save. We're hitting save to resubmit the information to ESERS. What will happen is ESERS will now see an enrollment for this Social Security number, and your file will become valid. So from here, you just hit previous, and then you hit the submit for posting button. Once that posts, you'll be able to make your payment. If you, at this point in time, if you haven't sent us a copy of that Social Security card or I-9, please send it at this point in time. If not, you'll probably be getting a phone call or an email from Chris King or Angie Minahan in our office, because we have workflows that will pick up on items like this in our system. So very quickly, I know we've gone over a few minutes, but I want to show you the employer reporting detail lookup. I just showed you how to search for employees on the Social Security number. But if you ever have any questions in regards to a file that you've uploaded and who was on that file, you can always go to contribution file correction, and in your posted employer reporting header, you can find the report that you need that you've posted. You can search for the unique ID. I'm actually going to do a file that I know that we did. Sorry. You can search by any information that you've provided to us. So for right now, I'm going to search by the unique ID, which is the timestamp that is created on your files when you generate them out of your system and you upload them to us. So this is the unique ID is a security feature so that you can't upload the same file twice. So you want to go to employer reporting detail lookup, and you can search for your files based on your unique ID. I don't know why it does that. And it will pull everyone that showed up on that file underneath the unique ID. You can export it to Excel at this point in time. You can also search for all of your enrollment files. Oh, that may have been a mistake. But you can also search by your contribution file. So when we say header type, it's either going to be enrollment or contribution. So see, these are all of the enrollments that we have posted. You can also search by your contribution. If you're a college or university, you can search by your ARP files that you've uploaded. You can also search by your header status. So if you want to search for all of your headers that were posted with warnings, anything that you've ever voided for your headers, you can search by that. You can also search by your period begin dates, your period end dates. So if I want to search from nope, my period begin date from my period. See if that pulls anything. So if you need to search by certain time frames, you can also drill it down to a person. So if you want to search for a time frame for an individual person, you can do it that way. For the larger school districts, if you have multiple pages, you can always export it to Excel, and then you can manipulate the information at that point to your search criteria. But this, I feel like this application is underutilized, and one of the purposes of this training is to get our employers more familiar with membership, how to deal with membership when you're in ESERS, how to search for some membership information with the employer reporting detail lookup, but I also wanted to take the opportunity to show you different ways that you can search for information within our system by using this application. But at this point in time, if there aren't any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them right now if you have any. If not, I'm not going to hold you much longer past the hour mark. So if there aren't any questions, we can go ahead and end the Zoom. But I just want to thank you so much for attending today. We really appreciate your participation in all of our workshops, whether if they're in person or virtual. So we do have a disability webinar coming up at the end of September. And we will be doing virtual employer 101 workshops. So if you missed anything over the summer in person, we will be doing this. We will be doing it virtually in 2 parts. We're going to be announcing that later next month with our employer bulletin. But if there aren't any questions at this point in time, we are going to go ahead and end the Zoom, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.